Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Back to Self. My name is Sylwia. I'm psychotherapist, traumatologist, author, and lecturer. So today I would like to talk to you about a very important topic that many people who are in therapy definitely can resonate with. So today's topic is about why do we feel like the minute our partner is in therapy or the minute we start the therapy feels like it's falling apart. So today's topic is really about what therapy really changes in our romantic relationships and why those processes are happening, why there are some shifts, and why do we feel like because of therapy our relationship is breaking down. So before we go into the relationships, let's look at the therapy itself. What exactly therapy is? Because as we know, therapy isn't for everyone. As we know, and I always say it to all of my patients, that it takes loads of courage to be in therapy, because therapy is really the processes that are making you feel very visible to yourself. You will understand yourself more. You will look into yourself. You will look into the pain. You will look into your patterns that maybe once were unconscious, and all of a sudden you become more aware of yourself. And very often in therapy, I see people who come to therapy wanting just to work on one thing. They might want to work on eating disorder, and that's the only one aspect they want to really talk about, they want to touch on, and nothing else. The truth is that eating disorder had a root cause somewhere else. So for a therapy to be really effective, when you want to change something once and for good, we do have to look at the root cause of it all. Because what would be the point of looking at the surface, looking at one concept, without looking how this is impacting other aspects of your life? I can guarantee that 6 months later, you will be back. So for therapy to be really effective, we do really need to look at the root cause and really get that healed. And everything else will be happening almost automatically when it comes to healing, when it comes to change. Because really therapy is about change. Whether we like it or not, if we really want, we just might look at that one thing in therapy. But because the change that will bring, it will bring the change on other aspects. Therapy always has compound effect on other aspects of our life. The minute there is you involved, there will be the change. Because therapy is really the process of coming back to yourself. It's a way to understand yourself. Therapy is a way to reconnect with yourself. Therapy is a way to look at the aspects of yourself that once were not allowed, that once had to be abandoned, that once had to be neglected by you because you had to develop different strategies, different coping mechanisms to survive. So your needs, yourself, your connection with who you are and developing that part of yourself wasn't really available. So instead, you developed loads of different coping mechanisms and you believe that they become your personality. You believe that this is who you are. And in therapy, you're realizing this is actually not who I am at all. This is my coping mechanism that has nothing to do with my personality. Like through therapy, you will see it, you will understand it, and then you will know how to change it. So that's one of the reasons why people might not want to come to therapy, because they just don't want the change. Look, I have the marriage, I have the kids, I have the house, I have the mortgage, I have the work, I have the dogs, I have the cats, and everything is just set. Yes, I don't feel it. I'm not quite happy there, but I have it, and I'm afraid that if I touch one aspect, all of this will fall apart. So it's better not to touch it, pretend like it's not there. I will survive. It's fine. Let's not just change this dynamic because it's actually working. That's okay. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. So people are not coming to therapy because they don't want to change, or the other aspect is that they're too afraid to look inside. They are too afraid to look at their own emotions, they're too afraid of themselves really, and to find out what is really inside them. So therapy is change. So knowing that someone goes to therapy, there will be change. For therapy to work, it needs to bring some kind of change. And often it will have a huge impact on our relationships, because relationships are a reflection of who we are. We always connect with people on the same level of consciousness. So sometimes we might connect with people based on pure love. Sometimes we connect with people based on our trauma bond, based on our emotional wounds. And I will talk about this in a second. So 4 components that really are going to destroy any relationship is that when there is disrespect, when we feel constantly put down, when we feel like we're being laughed at, when our decisions are not respected. Second one is when someone withdraws from us. So that disconnection, that emotional withdrawal, it's going to affect any relationship. Denial. What you on about? I never say that. No, it's fine. I don't care. And deep down, something is really triggering you. But you completely deny your own doing in the relationship. You completely deny your own responsibility for maybe the argument, or you don't see your own part in it. Blaming for it's all your fault. It's all on you. This is because of you. It's not working because I tried so hard, but it's not, you actually don't do the work. So all of this will impact our relationship. Judgment, when we constantly feel judged by our partners, when we have an idea and it's completely judged, put down, not accepted, and when we feel mistreated. So this could be part of the disrespect. When someone mistreats us and we accepting it, it also says a lot about your own relationship with yourself. So these aspects will always destroy any relationship. And the truth is that people who, majority, okay, we need to say this, majority of people who come to therapy for relationship issues or for problems in relationship, those components are already in the relationship. It's not like you started therapy and all of the sudden the disrespect shows up. All of the sudden the denial is showing up. All of the sudden the mistreatment is actually present in the relationship. What is usually happening is that you no longer are willing to ignore those signs. So what is happening? You're becoming more aware of what is really going on in this relationship. Who am I in this relationship? What is my role in this relationship? How do I feel in this relationship? And is this working for me or not anymore? What does it need to change? So it's not therapy really that destroys relationships. Therapy shows you or helps you see things that you didn't want to see before. So for the therapy to be effective, we do need to be honest. We do need to be honest with ourselves, with our feelings, with our reality. So when we starting to see those patterns, when we starting to really see and understand what is really going on in our relationship, there will be part of us that will want to change it. There will be part of us that will want to do something about it. And as a result, we are changing, because for any dynamic to change, to shift, we only need one person to actually change for the change to happen. We don't need two people. So one person steps out of this dynamic that didn't really work anyway, and then a new dynamic is being formed. So in this chaotic time, what is really happening for the other person is usually protesting. I don't know why you going there to the switch. I don't really think you really need this therapy. It's probably too much free time on your hands that you just decided you need this therapy. Don't you see that this woman is changing you? Do you really need the therapy? It's meant to make things better, but it's definitely making things worse. So maybe you should change a therapist. Maybe this isn't the right thing for you to do. Often you might actually hear things like this from your partner, but that's okay, because this is just a huge sign for them. Something is changing and they're protesting. They don't want to change. They don't want their status quo to shift. They're very comfortable in the dynamic that they were in. They knew what to expect. They knew the dance, and they don't want to change. They don't like the new music. They don't like the new steps. They don't want to dance with you anymore in this new dynamic. It's too much for them. This is why therapy can bring lots of chaos, because it brings change. And every change is always chaotic, especially at the beginning. It's like a huge house renovation. You have your house, you have your psyche, and then you're starting to renovate things. You're painting, you throw out old furniture, you bring in new ones, changing the floors, changing everything. So at the process of change, of this renovation, there is always going to be some kind of chaos. There's always going to be some kind of old dirt that needs to come out, so the new, the fresh, the nicer things can come. The dynamic that is actually going to work for you more. So therapy is like a huge renovation, like a life renovation, if you want to look at that way. So you might think that therapy is really destroying your relationships, but in fact, therapy can't destroy things that are solid. Because as any house renovation, when you're going to renovate a house by painting and throwing out old furniture, good foundations, solid foundations, stays the same. The problem is when the foundation isn't good. If the walls are not strong. This is where both of partners really need to look at their own relationships, at their own doings and not doings also. Because we often mistake love for trauma bond. We also mistake love for familiarities. Something feels that we exactly know. And sometimes people with two different emotional wounds, where one plays role, the savior, and the other one plays the victim. It's a perfect dynamic for reliving every day your trauma. And you exactly know the dynamic, you exactly know how this works, you exactly know the dance. And you call it love. You say it, oh my God, like he understands me. He always is there for me. He always saves me. And you then are perfectly in your victim mentality. pointing at they are the bad ones. He's the good, he's saving me. It works for him as well because he's the saver and he feels good about himself. He feels strong that he did something and it's amazing. You call it love. And your therapist says it's actually your trauma bond, and it will give you all the aspects of your dynamic. How does it really play out in your life? And this is your aha moment when you realize, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this trauma to keep repeating in my life. I actually don't want that role. I want to know who I am without being the savior. I want to know who I am without being the victim. And if the other person doesn't want the same thing, then the shift happens. Then this is the moment where both of you really need to sit down and look into your relationship. And maybe this is a time when the other person also goes to therapy and works on themselves, on their own wounds. In that scenario, you have a huge chance that this relationship will survive. You have a huge chance that you will be stronger and better than ever. Because only then you will be able to see each other from the point where both of you will become very visible for each other, but also for yourself. So you will see yourself, and then you will also be able to see your partner. Not the dynamic, not the old patterns, not the old wounds. And all of this will feel very unfamiliar. It will feel very unknown, out of your comfort zone. It's like, oh, I'm with you for 10 years, but all of a sudden I'm afraid that you will reject me. What if you will not like me? Exactly. What happens then? Majority of the time, it's actually not the case. You're going to fall in love with each other all over again. But this time, with your true authentic selves. Another scenario where the trauma bond is happening and plays out in relationships is when maybe your partner is really struggling with addiction, and your role was always to keep it a secret. Your role was always to mask it, to pretend it's not there. So you're the fixer, you're the rescuer, the secret keeper, the person that he can always rely on. You're always going to clean up the stuff. You're always going to make sure everything is done and paid. You're always going to know that she will look after your reputation. So when there will be, family gatherings, birthday parties, and there will be drink involved, your mother-in-law will be like, is he always like this? Of course not. He just had a very tough week at work, and this is just a perfect occasion. Let him have fun. He's just enjoying himself. He's just relaxing. And then you go to therapy and you're realizing what you're doing. You're realizing that this is not love, but this is trauma bond. And your role in this dynamic was to save, was to rescue this person, was to look after and managing and take on responsibilities that are actually not yours. So what do you do then? You sit with your partner and you tell him, look, this isn't working anymore for me. I do not want to keep this a secret. I do not want to cover your ass anymore. I need you to step in and take responsibility for what is going on. I need you to help me change this because this isn't working anymore. So you're giving always a choice. You're always giving them opportunity to change as well, to step in there with you. And often partners will not like it. Often partners will be like, what is this? This is not working. And I don't like that you don't like this, so I'm going to find someone else who will do exactly what I need them to do for me so I can still be in this trauma situation. So I can still sit and live it and be it and live it. I'm going to do it with you or without you, but I'm not changing. If that is the case, you do need to respect it. But you also need to respect yourself. This is your life, and if this is not what you want, you don't have to agree with this. You don't have to be somewhere in a dynamic that you don't want to be. Another situation could be when she has an eating disorder and he keeps it quiet, says nothing, covers her, not says anything. Another example will be where he or she might be abusive. Again, in therapy, it will become very visible very quickly for a therapist. So there will be questions. You will work this through with your therapist. And then it will be your choice whether you want to keep accepting that abuse or not. And if not, then your therapist will help you to create a plan, safe plan to come out of that relationship. Therapy is not something that destroys. Therapy is something that builds, creates, and connects. If you feel like therapy is destroying you, that's not a good therapy. Therapy rebuilds. And as I said at the beginning, we all are connecting with each other on the same level of consciousness. So if you're working on yourself constantly and your partner, for some reason, maybe she doesn't want to work on herself, maybe she doesn't believe in therapy, she doesn't believe in change, and yet she sees some change in you and she doesn't really like it, then it's up to you what you want to do with this. If you're going to talk to her, if you can't force anyone to do the work on themselves, it really needs to come from themselves. So if they don't want to change, all what you can do is respect that. But know that there will be time when you will outgrow them, when you will have different consciousness, when you will have different awareness. And maybe there will be time when you will actually want different things. So the relationship will actually have no way to reconnect because you will be at completely different stages of your lives. If you can connect with yourself, you can reconnect with your partner. If you can rebuild yourself, that is the evidence that you can rebuild relationship with your partner. But in relationships with someone else, there's two people that needs to take responsibility for themselves. There's two people that needs to work on the relationship. There is no way this could actually work out. It always takes two people meeting somewhere in the middle to make this work. Communication is the key to any successful, any good relationship. Communication. There is a different video on how to make relationship work, so I'm not going to repeat this with you. The link will be in the comments or below, so you will find the link to that episode. So I'm not going to repeat myself about what makes a good relationship to work, but communication and respect. These are very important aspects. So if you have it, if there is good communication, there is willingness to be in this relationship, if there is willingness to work on that relationship from both sides, then this is going to work. There's no reason why it shouldn't. There is no reason why it wouldn't. Because who is in control of your relationships? You are, and your partner are. So if you want something, if you're happy with someone, if you genuinely are in love with the other person and this relationship is working, you feel listened to, you feel respected, you feel like you can be vulnerable and safe, it's going to work. So therapy, yes, it will bring change. It meant to. It meant to bring change. But the main thing of therapy is for you to come back to yourself, to come back home to your heart, to reconnect with yourself. Because if you can love yourself, you can love anyone. that will deserve your love. So after this episode, really reflect on the relationships you have. You have with yourself, number one, but also with the relationships you have with other people. Do you feel safe? Do you feel heard? Do you feel respected? Do you feel like you can talk to your partner, wife, or husband about anything? Do you feel visible in this relationship? Because if you do, you have nothing to worry about basically when it comes to therapy. There might be some slight change in the dynamic. There might be some chaos at the beginning or somewhere in the middle, but eventually you will come out of it and you will be stronger. But if there is very little of you in this relationship and you completely connected with your partner on trauma wound, and on top of that you started to work on yourself, but the other person is not listening, is not willing to work, is not willing to change, then it's very likely that this relationship will not survive, because you're not in it anymore, because you don't want the same thing anymore. So I want to thank you very much for listening today, for being here, for supporting this channel, and please share it with your friends if it resonates. Leave a comment about your thoughts on relationships. Share your thoughts on it. Share your experience if you want. And don't forget to subscribe. Bye.